members of our Congress, you will always have, within our government, those that are above the law. Hey, it's me. And as you know, I've been explaining how Mueller is protecting all these criminals that were involved in Uranium One, the Iran deal, the Clinton Foundation, but also clearing the path by taking out Trump. I mean, that's what they're hoping, so that Hillary may run again, or a Democrat has a fighting chance at least. But if you look at the way Mueller is operating, he's cobbling together a hoax, a story. It's like the Trump dossier, part 2, more innuendos, or another version of Hillary's book, What Happened? And it's the Mueller report, but it should be called What Happened? And then explaining what the hoax is rather than what reality is. And so you can see it's a Democrat operation, but you can also see that it's a hoax. You know, if you listen to the media, they're always talking about, well, you had 25 indictments, 8 people pleaded guilty. And people that aren't paying attention, they would go, wow, there really was collusion with Russia, and they're guilty. Look, even people pleaded guilty. But if you really look at the indictments and who they are, you have a lot of ghost indictments of people in Russia or some trolls. It's meaningless. And then all the pleadings were really because of witness intimidation, tampering with witnesses, and really making witnesses lie and then sign off on a lie and plead guilty. So we're talking about Robert Mueller cobbling together a story, and that story is then also backed up by a cobbling together of fabricating evidence, intimidating witnesses. So it's a hoax from A to Z. It's even worse than the Trump dossier, which is just out there. I mean, it's like if somebody writes some book, you know, it's a First Amendment or whatnot, and the Trump dossier is worse because it was made with, you know, the Kremlin involved, MI6, all these foreigners. But if you look at Robert Mueller and what he's doing, and his team of Clinton Foundation Democrats, it's the FBI, it's the DOJ that's involved. So we're talking about a banana republic when this can happen. And after that, all the voter fraud that we've seen, even in the last midterms, especially in California, then it's true that liberals are really heading that way. And there's a brain drain on the left because they're so radical that they're pushing tranny policies, white guilt, you know, they're anti-American, and they are suppressing free speech with the PC culture. Now, for ordinary intelligent people, it's too much, it's too radical. And the media is okay with it, to repeat all these insane, you know, stupid talking points, because they get paid millions of dollars. Look at Dr. Ford at the Kavanaugh hearings. She got paid $1 million to lie. It's easy. Just like these people on CNN, they get paid a lot of money, even panelists. It's easy to lie all the time. And you're protected by the left, because it's the party of lies. I mean, it's lie after lie after lie every single day now. It's unbearable if you watch it. Hence, I don't watch it. But I know it's out there. And it seems like it's a never-ending well of lies. And that's why I know it's strongly connected with the dark side, with the devil. Because we're talking about really casting doubt on people, poisoning people against others, causing division, and protecting criminals and criminality. And when you look at Mueller and his people, we're talking about criminals in charge of justice. Now you get that? You have criminals protecting criminals, going after a sitting president, committing treason, and it's condoned and approved by the Department of Justice of our nation. You cannot make it up. Evil is driving that probe, that inquisition, and the whole thing is really an intifada, and it has to be put down in a very strong way. Now, of course, I always count on the incompetence of dim-dems. If President Trump can outsmart the smartest Chinese negotiators and President Xi, then of course he's going to win against these incompetent dim-dems and the incompetent buffoon Robert Mueller. Because trust me, if he had anything at all, they would have done it even before midterms, and they would have had the Senate, and it would be Mike Pence, and then they would be happy about 2020, looking forward to it. But they have nothing. So the best they can do is come up with the Trump dossier, part 2. More innuendos, or what happened, Mueller's report, what happened, part 2. More lies and excuses. But dim-dems have a brain drain because they don't have common sense. They're too radical to have common sense. And so I feel like if you have people that are so radical that they're pushing away intelligent people, and at the same time, they're always passing themselves off as being very cultured and very intelligent, and those conservatives, they're smelly, they lie, they're racist, they're sexist. And so just look at the left. They're the smelly ones. Look at Hillary Clinton. She smells like a dead corpse. Maxine Waters, she never takes a bath. Bernie Sanders, he never takes a bath. Hillary never takes a bath. These people hate water. They hate soap. They hate shampoo. They hate deodorant. These people smell. They don't brush their teeth. They're so unhygienic. And they call conservatives smelly. I mean, the irony. Or you have them saying conservatives are sexist. But the whole Me Too movement, for the last year, it showed that all of them are liberals in high places, abusing women, raping women. It's all liberals. And, of course, you have the racists on the left. I mean, really, if you come out and say, well, they all look alike, like Hillary talking about black people, or they're super predators, I mean, the racists are on the left. So once again, it's liberals pointing the fingers at others, but really, they themselves are guilty of what they're accusing others of. But it's not only that. They're so PC that they have a word police. They're suppressing free speech. And they force people to come out with the promotion of the most pathetic talking points you ever heard. I mean, we're talking about real off-the-wall radical stuff. And it's almost apocalyptic. It's like they all lost their minds. And it's sad that they don't even have that awareness or self-awareness that they feel shame. No, they don't have that. They even lost the ability to feel shame. And that's why it's apocalyptic in a way. I mean, they're the party of death. They're apocalyptic. And it's like a death cult. And there's a brain drain because intelligent people that have common sense, they cannot identify with anything like that. And where's the hope? Where's the future? Where's the optimism? Where are the plans? Where are the objectives? It's all old platitudes that they're kind of like regurgitating without even knowing how or what or when. And you have this Ocasio-Cortez going out there saying one stupid thing after the other, and it's almost like progressives are using her, to throw out all their wacky ideas and see what sticks. This is the left. It's not just in our nation. You have the EU, and they're going to make it a criminal offense to criticize the mass migrations into Europe of these North Africans and people from the Middle East. I mean, if you complain, you can be held liable in a criminal way. I mean, that is insane. But socialists, they will do anything. And they will go after people like that. And like I always said, Mueller and all of these people, they don't hate Trump. The truth is they hate we, the people that voted for Trump. This is the problem they have. They can't stand that people have the power. And they want control over anything. It's kind of like how the Chinese are communists, and they don't care if their economy takes a hit as long as the Communist Party doesn't take a hit. That's all they care about. In our nation, the Democrats, they don't care if they lose money, if they destroy the nation, if they look like fools, as long as it doesn't damage the Democratic Party. So it seems like they still feel like they're intact, especially in the midterms. Give them like this little Red Bull that gives them enough energy to still go on and not go to stage 5 of TTS, which is mass suicide. But still, they have something that they can't get back, and that is a brain drain. You have a lot of people that just lost that connection to the Democratic Party. So it's kind of odd to see Bruce Springsteen talking, because he's another one of those hypocrites. Just like Billy Joel. You're talking about, factories closing, you write songs about it, like in the 70s, and that's Jimmy Carter, right? And it's almost like they don't understand that they keep on supporting the Democratic Party that causes all of that, and Bill Clinton and Choco, and then they're criticizing Trump, who is the person actually bringing back the factories, bringing back the jobs, and still they support the Democratic Party. So it was never that these people are for working people. It's never that they have real principles or ideals. No, it's that they want to have control and power. And you see that with all these celebrities, you see that with people in the media on the left and in the Democratic Party. It's always about control. And so they look like hypocrites and criminals, and they don't care. I mean, if they have to tear down every institution we have in our government, or personally tear up the U.S. Constitution, they will do it, because what they want is control. So, if somebody says, hey, if Democrats just look at Paris and see what happens if you increase taxes, but what happened in Paris, that's exactly what Democrats want. They wish they had that here right now. Fires in the street, cars being destroyed. That's what they want. But they don't have the power, they don't have the guts, and George Soros is too cowardly. Because, if you're talking about a yellow jacket movement in France, that's what they call it. Because all these people come out with yellow jackets and start burning stuff. When you have that kind of color-coded revolution, it's always tied to George Soros, right? You have the purple revolution, the green revolution, the yellow jackets, always some color, right? That's the MO of Soros and his people. But here in the USA, they kind of started that during the Choco years. But President Trump, they're scared of him. Because if they start that stuff, it will be put down very quickly. And speaking of Soros, you can tell how much support he has in all of the media, even many people on the right who do take money from Soros. And the truth is, Soros lost a lot of power because Paul Ryan is out, Trey Gowdy is out, Jeff Flake is out, Bob Corker is out, and of course McDead is dead. And to be honest, even the deep state is really suffering. So the Rhino Club in Congress is no more. Even Lindsey Graham saw that coming, and he went to the Trump side, if you will. But the deep state itself also has problems. You have Bill Clinton, he's almost dead. Bush Sr. is dead. So you have the kingpins of this deep state. They're dead. The masterminds, the leaders. Who's left? Soros or some minions, but it's just not the same. You get Bush Sr. has many connections, he calls people, or he has people call other people. It's different than if Soros is doing it, if you know what I mean, or Bill Clinton. And they appointed many judges, and they help politicians, and you see how people react if you give somebody a chance to rise in politics. I mean, the Clintons hired Trey Gowdy, and he repaid them in spades, protecting Hillary all the way. So you can imagine that they still have many connections. If you look at all of these people like praising Bush Sr. right now, it's overkill. But why? Because, yeah, you can see the extent of the connections and all of that. But they're gone. McDade is gone. Bush Sr. is gone. Bill Clinton and Hillary will soon be gone. And who's going to take over? Who's going to be the new mastermind? Choco? I mean, you're talking about Valerie Jarrett, the Iranian gargoyle, if you talk about Choco. But Choco doesn't have that kind of, lifetime experience, decades in politics. He's always been just like a Chicago idiot. And then, just the 8 years. You cannot compare it to Bill Clinton, who is actually much more intelligent than Choco. Or Bush Sr., who's been there for so many decades. So I cannot see Choco and the Iranian gargoyle becoming the new heads of the deep state. But they're trying. They're auditioning right now with Organizing for Action. And so is Soros gonna bet on Choco and the Iranian gargoyle? Or is there some other higher level politician that can be the new de facto leader of the deep state? Because they do need some type of guidance. And if they don't have the Clinton Foundation, they don't have the Bush family, who can they go to, right? Maybe a lot of these people just don't trust Choco and the Iranian gargoyle. But I'm curious who else would be available for that kind of a job. Head of the deep state. But it's true that even without Trump, I mean, just time moving onwards, and Bush Sr. as W. I mean, everybody was talking about the last words to his son, and the whole media is like pretending that everybody assumes that Bush Sr. had one son. I mean, they're all forgetting about Jeb Bush. That's so sad, right? Bush Sr. didn't even care about Jeb Bush, maybe, I don't know. But you have to understand here that it's a time, but also President Trump, because President Trump bringing that nationalism and going against NAFTA and, coddling China as the Bush family did, the Clintons and Choco, it kind of accelerates the death of the deep state. So it's still there everywhere in government, but they don't have leadership. The leadership is dying out. And we're talking about people that, come from the 70s and, the 80s and 90s, the 2000s, and, time marches onwards. And I truly believe that we're heading towards a place where you're not going to have those people anymore. And don't get me wrong, the dark ages, the Bush years, the Clinton years, the Choco years, I mean, it's a long time. A lot of people are involved, but, judges are retiring, politicians are retiring, people die. In the end, everything is kind of replenished with people that are better. Just even look at the judges now that Grassley, Graham, Uguay, and President Trump are putting in. I mean, 85 already. Now imagine in the next 2 years another 85. That's 320, if my math is... I'm just kidding. That's a lot of judges. And maybe another justice for the Supreme Court. Who knows? Or 2. We just don't know. But what I do know is that this really makes a change in our nation. Not only now, but for decades to come. So we're talking about a transitional phase that I mentioned, bringing our nation to the next level. And it's kind of like a bonus that these deep state masterminds are all dying and, they're so frail and they don't have offspring that can really take over. Like Jeb or W. I mean, really, don't worry about it. There's no danger there. And Chelsea Clinton, she's a psychopath, but who is she? I Right? So of course you have that connection with Soros, and Soros has a son that's pretty active right now. But it's a far cry from what they had in the Choko years. And you could say that, the first term of Choko was really the pinnacle of deep state power and success and influence. But it all went downhill. I guess you could say around when the Tea Party started, it's just a coincidence, but I will say that everything started going downhill for Democrats, and then, of course, then came Donald the Great. And so I'm looking forward to the future. I don't feel like a worry. Even, people like Mueller, the guy's going to die very soon, don't worry. He has 5 different types of cancer. He's old as hell. And all of these people, all of these corrupt people are so damn old. Nancy Pelosi will be gone. Maxine Waters will be gone. And the new batch of dim-dem crazies are going to be those progressives like Ocasio-Cortez or whatever her damn name is. People like that. Or Beto, those kind of people. We're talking about pajama boys and idiots. It's going to be like fish in a barrel, right? Really. Fish in a barrel. And then that's it. What are these people going to do, right? These are not the masterminds that dim-dems are hoping for. And just imagine if Choko had been an intelligent guy, right? A mastermind, another, Bush senior type with all the connections and, really evil. Choko is just an evil numbnuts. It was the Iranian gargoyle, Valerie Jarrett, was more of a mastermind, and Choko was, of course, equally interested in tearing down our nation, but he doesn't have the brains or the skills. Just an annoying little Kenyan. But imagine if he had been a Soros type or, some kind of a mad genius. By now, we certainly would have had a successor, a Choko successor, picked by him, and would have been elected, and, things would be worse. So, in fact, dim-dems shot themselves in the foot again. Yeah, sure, they won the election, they got 2 terms out of a president, but he was a complete numbnuts, and the dim-dems lost so many seats in Congress, putting the party back to 1920. So in these midterms, they regained a little bit, so they're back to, I don't know, maybe the 1930s. So yeah, in 50 or 60 years, they will have regained their position. But I'm saying, no. They have a slight little comeback, but it's very slight, it's very tiny. And in 2020, then all hell's going to break loose when the dim-dems lose again. President Trump becomes president, a lot of dim-dem senators are voted out, and we get the House back. Then what? I believe you would then see TTS stage 5, mass suicides. We would see liberals all over our nation setting themselves on fire, and you see them running in the street for, a couple of yards and then they fall down. Or you will see liberals jumping off buildings, and suicide bombers, mass suicides in compounds, and it would be like an extinction of liberals. It would be like if the dinosaurs all committed mass suicide, and that's what caused the extinction. But I'm not laughing about it. Wait a second, I am laughing about it. Laughing in my fist. Because it's amusing, right? Failure after failure after failure. It's like the Keystone Cops, or the Keystone Liberals. And they're setting themselves on fire. And it's hilarious, right? It's that's the Saturday Night Live we want to see, right? Liberals, TTS, stage 5. But seriously now, I think 2020 will be very important for liberals to win, and so they will do anything to win. They will cheat, voter fraud, everything. I mean, they will bring out the mother load of dirty tricks, and they could really do some really criminal things. Maybe desperation. Desperate people do desperate things. But I still think that we would come out the winners. President Trump is not to be underestimated, as you know, but also we the people are not to be underestimated. It's not about, my state, my district, or, our local council, or, the garbage disposal in Denver, or we're talking about our nation and the president, commander-in-chief, and we're talking about security. We're talking about jobs coming back all over our nation, and it's President Trump. So I think that we should start campaigning right now for 2020. Really start promoting the re-election of